Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and I am going to talk about virtual reality goggles today. So, I played video games pretty considerable amount when I was in my 20s, and as I get older, I play less and less. But I absolutely follow video games pretty closely. I watch that industry because it is a major, it's like films, right? It's a major channel, it's a major platform for media overall. So, virtual reality goggles, in my opinion, are technology that should not be created, all right? So, Star Trek was a great show. One of the things that they talked about in there is, we can create this technology. Should we create this technology? And it is my opinion that we should choose not to create virtual reality goggles. Now, I want to be clear. I think there should be absolutely no laws that stop any company from creating virtual reality goggles. But overall, as a society, we as a society should choose for this to fail by not buying it, by not supporting it, and not having any goodwill toward virtual reality goggles. Here's why. So I have seen a span, of decades for video games. When I was very young, me and my son played through a Middle-earth video game together, where we sat on the couch, we each held a controller, and we would each take turns, fighting orcs and Uruk-hai and, having wizard battles and all those kind of things. And it was an interactive game that actually was specifically made to allow two people to sit down and have a good time together, right? Those games, I just read an article the other day online that said those kind of games are extremely rare today. They still make them, maybe 1 in 50 games, right? They're almost impossible to find now, and that's why most video games are created to play in an online format, right? So most of your video gamers have a very nice, maybe a 24, 36-inch monitor, or they're kicking it up to, they're kicking their feet on their laptop up to maybe, a 50-inch high-def television. Those are all different options, right? Now, at home, so when I was, like 20 years ago, when I played, that's about 10 or 12 years ago. Yeah, that's all it was. About 10 or 12 years ago, I played that cooperative Middle-earth role-playing video game with my son Xavier on the couch. We sat on the couch, we each had a controller, had a good time, right? So what happened next, right? So since those games disappeared, my son still plays video games. My son Xavier is the primary driver for video games in our household. When he is home from college right now, I give him the 48-inch television, high def, and he plays on a PlayStation 4. And generally what happens is he sets the tone for video games in my family. I have 2 boys and 2 girls on my children. And what Xavier plays, my son Xavier played Assassin's Creed 4 years ago. And, when he was 17, and now my 17-year-old daughter, my son is 21, now my 17-year-old daughter is playing Assassin's Creed, same game, right? So he sets the tone, right? Now what happens is he will play, his last one was Uncharted 4. So he played Uncharted 4. Well, that was enjoyable for the whole family because he played it up on the big screen. And, I actually have a laptop and it's positioned so that I can see the large screen television. And I might be, surfing Facebook or whatever, but we're all in the same room and we're all so everybody can see the video game he is playing. And my 9-year-old son and my 12-year-old daughter, they'll make comments. They might enjoy some of the contents. When he gets to a big boss battle, everybody might stop and watch him complete that boss battle. So there's some fun for the family, right? It's not as fun as when the two of us could sit down and play together, the same game, but at least people are getting an idea of what he's playing, an idea of what's happening within his game, right? So that's a good thing, right? And it makes the game a little bit interactive, right? Now, virtual reality goggles man, you know, this seems like, so here's a question. I think they should fail, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about whether they will fail, right? So the reason I think they should fail is if my son if I buy him an Oculus Rift, right? Who in the family is going to be blessed by watching him sit on the couch, you know, with his hands in his air and, you know, a big black box over his eyes? You know, he's interacting with that game, but what we see is awkward and boring, you know, even worse than boring. It's sad. It's like a bad sci-fi novel, you know, like it is the opposite of interactive for the family. And I will say it's a level of selfishness. So that, you know, in order to increase the experience for the one game player, you're going to decrease the experience for everyone around that player, right? And so it's bad technology. It moves us back socially, and I'm against it. You know, like, and when I mean I'm against it, everybody should have the right to make whatever product they want. Companies should have the right to make whatever product they want. But we, as parents, as Americans, as video game players, and as human beings, should recognize the bad trend that video games are going down. You know, how they're making, you know, by design, these games are becoming less and less fun for people to play together, right? Within the same real space. And that is a very bad trend. And I really think that these things should fail. So will they fail? I think they will. And the reason why is generally parents buy video games in larger numbers than that's the real question. Do parents buy video games in larger numbers than single purchase, right? You know, so if you're a young man from 18 to 32 or a young lady, you know, for whatever, and I think 18 to 32 is the prime video game playing sphere. Beyond that, people, I think they just realize that life is better than an interactive simulation of it, you know, and so generally after 32, I think, you know, video gaming goes down, but I think generally most video games are bought by parents. And if you're a parent, then you've had that situation where you're saying, hey, can you pause your game? In the old days, you had to say, can you pause your game? Because you had to, like, wonder if, you know, and now most video games will allow you to pause anywhere, which is a blessing. So you can say, hey, pause the game, I'm going to have a conversation with you. Oh my gosh, can you try to just think about getting any kid from 5 to 18 out of a virtual reality game? It'll be a nightmare. It will be a nightmare, right? And so, so right there, I think, just parents are highly incented to not buy these, right? And so what do you do with a product that generally almost every parent is going to be against? So I think that's really an interesting aspect of it. So I think they will fail. I think they should fail. Virtual reality goggles are a very bad idea. And if you're a parent, if you're an American, if you're a human being who plays video games, really think twice about going down this road. I just think it's a really bad idea. Just my take.